So the first book, as you're all aware, it was Annie Dillard's An American Childhood, and I found this book really interesting, especially to start out in this whole idea of hermeneutics and all those things that were happening. But I thought it was a really interesting book, and I really respected Dr. Smith's um, reasoning for using that. It's so obviously about those early stages of child development, and the connection between that and Erickson's stages, and how they're so evident in her life, and you can see the different things, like from the very start. She talks about this whole trust versus mistrust thing of her father leaving and going down the river for Lord knows how long, and just having to kind of develop that, and having developed that, and how that played out in her life, and how that played out just influencing her and helping her develop by having her father do this thing where he goes away. He says he's going to come back, and do I really believe that he's going to come back? Do I really trust that he is going to come back, and that he's not just sailing away from me forever? I think that was really, really well done. But then also, like, the next three stages, autonomy versus shame, shame/doubt there, initiative versus guilt, industry versus inferiority, all these things are also covered really well, I think, by Annie Dillard as she kind of recounts these stories. Especially like her idea where she talks about like sinking in and out of consciousness, where she has these thoughts about like, oh, I'm thinking about like the world, and I'm thinking about my parents, and I'm wondering about perhaps my father or my mother, or why people do this, or why this happens, and kind of relating that to the experiences that she has, like in relation to those thoughts. And then also there's times where she's just like, and then there was times when I was just a kid, and I just had kid thoughts, and they didn't matter, and they were irrelevant. And I also really love the story like of the monster in the bedroom, because I feel like I've definitely had those in my life, and I think a lot of us have had those things where we look at this and we have this thing where, maybe just a few weeks ago we thought it was one way, and it's so hard to like wrap our brains around and get rid of those kind of childish thoughts about how like, oh, this is some scary thing, or this is some fantastic thing, or however our brain views it, to what it is in reality. And when we finally make that switch, sometimes we still slip back into that idea of, well, it's just this fantasy thing, it's this fun thing. But like, it's really important that I think she does a really good job of showing the contrast between the two. And then I also like, I'm a science guy, so I of course love Piaget's child development theories. But I really like how that applies to her too. You can see those, you can make the connection between Piaget's stages and her stages she talks about growing up. And I just think that's really cool. She very much in some parts of the book is a little scientist going around and doing experiments. I remember one she talks about where she was going around and like testing her parents to see how they would react to her doing different things like that were maybe annoying or frustrating to them. And so she was kind of like interacting with them, like seeing like, okay, if I do this, how are they going to respond? Are they really listening to me, or are they just kind of listening to me, and those sort of things. So I think that's really cool. But yeah, really the Annie Dillard book, for the most part, I think it was cool to me because I can remember having similar experiences sort of as I was growing up. I remember having these really like metacognitive kind of thoughts where like I would think about things and think about the fact that I was thinking about things. Like I remember when I was growing up, I would think about the fact that I was wondering whether or not I would remember this tomorrow. And like right when I would go to bed, I would think about something, and I'd be like, oh, I wonder if I'm going to think about thinking about this in the morning. And then I would like think about something else, and then I'd be like, I wonder if I'm going to remember thinking about this in the morning. And then I would like, and then of course you never can really tell, but it's just those kind of metacognitive thoughts where you're thinking about what you're thinking about, and you're realizing, hey, I'm not just, floating through life having whatever happens to me happen to me. I'm really looking, and I'm really thinking, I'm really trying to understand what's happening, and I'm really trying to put these kind of big, huge world things into schemas that I can really comprehend and understand.